Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing more history content videos. Today I was kind of feeling generous. I was gonna do part A, but that video is gonna be coming out soon. Today, we are going to be talking to you guys about the different dynasties that happened during Britain, England, and the United Kingdom. So the first house we're going to be talking to you guys about is the House of Hanover. This house was founded in 1634, which was actually founded 390 years ago. And technically it also includes the British monarchs in the House of Hanover, which is George I, George II, George III, George IV, William IV, and Queen Victoria. She was the only last person to be in the House of Hanover. And then in 1910, after when Edward VII became king, after he died at 68. In 1901, he changed the house, technically after when Victoria died at 81, and he became king. He changed the house from the House of Hanover to a more German one, House of Saxe-Gotha. But in 1917, when George V became king, he changed the house from the German way to the present one, the British-sounding Windsor, because around 1910, he made his favorite castle, which was Windsor Castle, which is still in use today. I think this house was made in 1917, the House of Windsor. But this house was founded in 1634. But the actual thing it happens is it started in 1714 when George I became King of Great Britain and Ireland, up until 1901 when Queen Victoria died at 81 after ruling 63 years on the British throne. Obviously, it also includes, I probably think, George's father, Ernest Augustus, Elector of Hanover, or another word to say Hanover is Brunswick-Luneburg. I think that's how you say it. So, I did my own research about the House of Hanover, so let's get started. The House of Hanover, the German way to say it is Haus Hanover, which is it's a European royal house with roots tracing back to the 17th century. Its members, known as Hanoverians, ruled Hanover, Great Britain, Ireland, and the British Empire at various times during the 17th to 20th centuries, originating as a claned branch of the House of Welf in 1635, also known then as the House of Brunswick-Luneburg, which is another way to say Hanover, by the way. The Hanoverians ascended to prominence with Hanover's elevation to electorate in 1692. In 1714, George I, Prince Elector of Hanover, and a descent of King James VI and I, assumed the throne of Great Britain and Ireland, marking the beginning of the Hanoverian rule over the British Empire. At the end of this line, Queen Victoria's death in 1901, the throne of the United Kingdom passed to her eldest son, Edward VII, though his father, Albert Prince Consort, the last reigning member of the House of Hanover, lost the Duchy of Brunswick in 1918 when Germany became a republic. Oh, this was when after World War I ended. Well, technically, World War I ended on the 11th of November. And this is what the House of Hanover looks like. These are the arms of the House of Hanover, and then the royal standard of Hanover. The parent house, I'm not going to look at that. It was founded in 1634, 390 years ago. The founder was George, Duke of Brunswick-Luneburg. I'm sorry, but who the hell is George, Duke of Brunswick-Luneburg? Oh, yeah. It's not George the First. I'm confused. I thought his father became no, I think his father did. deposition Hanover in 1866, George V of Hanover lost the territory to Prussia in the Austro-Prussian War. Oh yeah, George V became the last king of Hanover. He was the grandson of George III, I think. He was the grandson of George III. Brunswick, 1918. Ernest Augustus of Brunswick forced to abdicate after German defeat in World War I. The formal name of the house was the House of Brunswick-Lumberg-Hanover line. The senior line of Brunswick-Lumberg, which ruled Brunswick-Wolfenbüttel, became extinct in 1884. The House of Hanover is now the only surviving branch of the House of Welf, which is the senior branch of the House of East. The current head of the House of Hanover is Ernest Augustus, Prince of Hanover. Ernest August, Prince of Hanover. Oh, Ernest August, Prince of Hanover. It almost says August, to be honest, but it's August, Prince of Hanover. So that is the current head of the House of Hanover. Now, the House of Hanover is the only house that's still alive today, because the other houses, like the House of Tudor, the House of Stuart, the House of Plantagenet, how do you pronounce it? Plantagenet. I don't know how to say it. Plantagenet. Oh yeah, Plantagenet. Yeah. The House of Normandy. Or technically so, as you can see. Yes, technically there were 3 kings back in 1066 that were in the House of Normandy, like William the Conqueror, William II, and possibly Henry I. They were all Norman kings. Well, I don't really know. The House of Wessex began back in 871 when Alfred the Great became King of Wessex, obviously by this time. I could do a history of England from 43 AD up until the present day, up until 2024. Yeah, I would do that if I would. I could talk to you guys about the Kingdom of England, the Kingdom of Great Britain, and the Kingdom of United Kingdom all together. Let's look at the history. Dukes and Electors of Brunswick-Lumberg. George, Duke of Brunswick-Lumberg, was the first member of the House of Hanover. When the Duchy of Brunswick-Lumberg was divided in 1635, George inherited the Principality of Clattenburg and moved his residence to Hanover. His son, Christian Louis, inherited the Principality of Lumberg from George's brother. Clattenburg and Lumberg were then shared between George's sons until united in 1705 under his grandson, also called George, who subsequently became George I of Great Britain. Wait, George had another grandson? Wait a minute. I didn't know George had a I know he was a great-grandson, but he had a grandson. Oh no, I mean he had a grandfather. All members held the title of Duke of Brunswick-Lumberg. George, Duke of Brunswick-Lumberg, the first member of the House of Hanover. Christian Louis, the first son of Duke George, Prince of Clattenburg from 1641 to 1648, and Prince of Lumberg, 1648 to 1655. He relinquished Clattenburg when he became Prince of Lumberg. George William, the second son of Duke George, Prince of Clattenburg, 1648 to 1655, and Prince of Lumberg, 1665 to 1705. He relinquished Clattenburg when he became Prince of Lumberg on the death of his brother, Christian Louis. John Frederick, the third son of Duke George, Prince of Clattenburg, from 1665 to 1679. Ernest Augustus, the fourth son of Duke George, Prince of Clattenburg, 1679 to 1698. He became Prince of Clattenburg on the death of his brother, John Frederick. He was elevated to Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire in 1692. Ernest Augustus' wife, Sophia of the Plantagenets, was declared heiress of the throne of England by the Act of Settlement of 1701, which decreed Roman Catholics could not accede to the throne. Sophia was at the time of the senior eligible Protestant descendant of James I of England. She was the granddaughter of James anyway. Sophia of Platine, I remember to say. George Louis, the son of Duke Ernest Augustus and Sophia, became heir and Elector and Prince of Clattenburg in 1698, and Prince of Lumberg when his uncle George William died in 1705. He inherited his mother's claim to the throne of Great Britain when she died in 1714. Now let's look at the monarchs of Great Britain, Ireland, and Hanover. Monarchs of Great Britain, Ireland, and Hanover were George I, George II, George III, George IV, William IV, and Victoria. Obviously, as you guys can see, all 6 of these British monarchs belong in the House of Hanover. George Louis became the first British monarch of the House of Hanover as George I in 1714. The dynasty proved 6 British monarchs. Of the kingdoms of Great Britain and Ireland changed in 1801 to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Now, quote this happened during the reign of George III, when he was known as the Mad King. So we have George I, who reigned from 1714 until 1727. He reigned for 13 years. And George I died at the age of 67 of a stroke. George II reigned from 1727 until 1760. He reigned for more years than his father, 33 years. He died at 76. He died on the toilet. It's super weird. George III, who reigned from 1760 to 1820. He reigned for 59 years on the throne. He became king after his grandfather died at 22. He died at 81 of hemophilia. George IV became king. George IV, he reigned from 1820 to 1830. He reigned for 10 years and died at 67. He died of upper intestinal bleeding. William IV, the brother of George IV, and his father was and the son of George III. He reigned from 1830 to 1837. He only reigned for 7 years. He died at 71 of heart failure. And Queen Victoria, who became queen in she reigned from 1837 until 1901. She reigned for 63 years, breaking her grandfather's reign, George III's reign. She became queen at 18 and she died at 81. She died of also a stroke. Well, George I became king at 54. George II at 44. 47, 47. George III, 22. George IV, 57. William IV, 64. And Victoria, 18. George I, George II, and George III also served as electors and dukes of Brunswick-Luneburg. Informally, electors of Hanover, the personal union. They served as dual monarchs of Britain and Hanover, maintaining control of the Hanoverian army and for region policy. From 1814, when Hanover became a kingdom following the Napoleonic Wars, the British monarch was also king of Hanover. Oh yeah, that's true. Napoleonic War. Upon the death of William IV in 1837, the personal union of the thrones of the United Kingdom and Hanover ended. Succession to the Hanoverian throne was relegated by semi-Sorc law, Anagic Conatic, which gave priority to all male lines before female lines, and so it passed not to Queen Victoria, but to her uncle, the Duke of Cumberland. In 1901, when Queen Victoria, the last British monarch provided by the House of Hanover, died, her son and heir, Edward VII, became the first British monarch to the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Edward took his family name from that of his father, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, which is 3 times German than Hanover, technically. So I don't understand why. After the end of the personal union, Kings of Hanover after the end of the personal union. We got Ernest Augustus, King of Hanover from 1837 to 1851, and King George V of Hanover, 1851 to 1866. After the death of William IV in 1837, the following kings of Hanover continued the dynasty. Ernest Augustus, King of Hanover, who reigned from 1837 until 1851, and George V, George V, who reigned from 1851 to 1866. He was deposed. The Kingdom of Hanover ended in 1866. And it was exceeded by the Kingdom of Prussia, and the King of Hanover and Duke of Cumberland was forced to go into exile in Austria. The 1866 raft became the Houses of Hanover, and Hohenzollern was settled by the 1913 marriage of Princess Victoria Louis of Prussia to Ernest Augustus, Duke of Brunswick, the last king's grandson. Prince Bishops of Brunswick. At the end of the 30 Years' War, the Peace of Westphalia, 1648, awarded the Prince Bishopric of Onsaburg, auxiliary to a Catholic bishop and to a Catholic branch of Brunswick-Luneburg. Since the treaty gave claimants priority over heirs and reigning princes, Onsaburg became a form of a peerage in its alteration of the House of Hanover. Ernest Augustus, Elector of Brunswick-Luneburg, reigned from 1662 until 1698, the 4th son of George, Duke of Brunswick-Luneburg. And also, guys, Ernest Augustus was actually the father of George I. Ernest Augustus, Duke of York and Annanbury, ruled from 1715, also known until 1728, was the 6th son of Ernest Augustus, Elector of Brunswick-Luneburg. Oh yeah, he reigned when George I became king. That's crazy. Prince Frederick, Duke of York and Annanbury, ruled from 1764 until 1802, the 2nd son of George III. Onsaburg was miniaturized to Hanover in 1803. We got Dukes of Brunswick-Luneburg. Oh my word. There's so many. Oh my days. Oh my god. How much information do we need to know about the House of Hanover? In 1884, the senior branch of the House of Welf became extinct. By semi-sonic law, the House of Hanover would have ascended to the Duchy of Brunswick. But there has been some strong Prussian pressure against having George V of Hanover or his son, the Duke of Cumberland, succeeded to a member state of the German Empire. At least without strong conditions, including the swearing to the German Constitution. By a law of 1879, the Duchy of Brunswick established a temporary council of regency to take over at the Duke's death and, if necessary, to appoint a regent. The Duke of Cumberland proclaimed himself Duke of Brunswick at the Duke's death, and lengthy negotiations assumed but were never resolved. Prince Albert of Prussia was appointed regent. After his death in 1906, Duke John Albert of Mecklenburg succeeded him. The Duke of Cumberland's eldest son died in a car accident in 1912. Oh no! Poor him. Oh dear. The father renounced Brunswick in favor of his younger son, Ernest Augustus, who married the Kaiser's daughter, Victoria Louis, the same year. Swore allegiance to the German Empire and was allowed to ascend the throne of the duchy in November 1913. He was Major General during the First World War, but he was overthrown as Duke of Brunswick in 1918. His father was also deprived of his British titles in 1919 for bearing arms against Great Britain. What? A year after World War One? Come on. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, this was also the year that Germany had to sign the Treaty of Versailles. After having left Brunswick Palace, the Duke and his family moved back to their exile seat, Cumberland Castle at Gardinen, Austria, but in 1924 he received Blattenberg Castle and some other states in a settlement with the Free State of Brunswick and moved there in 1930. A few days before Blattenberg was handed over to the Red Army by British and American forces in late 1945 to become part of East Germany. The family quickly moved to Mettenberg Castle in Hanover, with all their furniture transported by British Army trucks by the order of King George VI. Duke Ernest Augustus died at Menenberg Castle in 1953. His Harrison Palace in Hanover had been completely destroyed during World War II. His eldest son, Prince Ernest Augustus, sold his remaining property at Harrington Gardens in 1961, but kept the nearby princely house, a small palace built in 1720 by George I of his daughter. For his daughter Anne Louisa. Louise? What? It is now his grandson Ernest Augustus' private home, along with Mettenberg Castle. The Claremont. The later heads of the House of Hanover have been George V, who ruled from 1866 to 1878, Ernest Augustus, Crown Prince of Hanover, the third Duke of Cumberland and Tynedale from 1878 to 1923, Ernest Augustus, Duke of Brunswick, the son of the previous, 1923 to 1953, Ernest Augustus, Prince of Hanover, 1953 to 1987, and Ernest Augustus, Prince of Hanover, from 1987 to the present. And then we have Ernest Augustus, the Hemorrhage Prince of Hanover, the heir apparent. The family has been resident in Austria since 1866, and thus took on Austrian nationality besides their German and British. Since the later king, Ernest Augustus, had been created Duke of Cumberland and Tynedale and Earl of Agmund by his father, George III, in 1799. These British peerages were inherited by his descendants. In 1914, the title of a Prince of Great Britain and Ireland was additionally granted to the member of the House by King George V. These peerages and titles, however, were suspended under the Title Deprivation Act of 1917. However, the title Royal Prince of Great Britain and Ireland had been inherited into the family's German passports, together with the German titles, in 1914. After the German Revolution of 1918 to 19, with the abolishment of nobility privileges, titles officially became parts of the last name. So curiously, the British prince's title is still part of the family's last name in their German passports, while it is no longer mentioned in their British documents. On the 29th of August, 1931, Ernest Augustus, Duke of Brunswick, as head of the House of Hanover, declared a formal restitution of himself and his dynastic descendants of use of his former British princely title as a secondary title of priest, which style Royal Prince of Great Britain and Ireland. His grandson, the current head of the house, is also called also called Ernest Augustus, continued to claim. He has the right to preemption under the Titles Preemption Act of 1917 for the restoration of his ancestors' suspended British peerage, Duke of Cumberland and Teviotdale and Earl of Anjou, but he has not done so. His father, another Ernest Augustus, did, however, successfully claim British nationality after World War II by variant of hereditary overlook and since repealed privatization of the Sophia Naturalization Act of 1705. According to the decision taken by a court of the House of Lords, all family members bear the last name Guffau in the UK and all styled Royal Highnesses in their documents. Wow, that is really, that's like a lot of information about the House of Hanover. We already know about the members of, we already know about the members of the House of Hanover, but also you can go back to the first ever one was Alberto I, who reigned from 1912 to 1975. Yikes! Who reigns from 1912 to 1975? And then the second one was Obiso from 940 to 1017. What? Who reigns from 1017? Come on, mate. Okay, that's crazy. So, I think that will be it for today, guys. But, I hope you guys did enjoy this really long information about the House of Hanover. If you guys enjoyed that video, I will probably make another house soon about another house from the other dynasties. Technically, this was known as the House of Hanover, also known as the Hanoverian Dynasty, technically, so because it started with George I. And quick note, the Georgian era began when George I became king until William IV died in 1837. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I love making history content videos so much for you guys. I hope you guys do enjoy it. And yeah, this is inspiring me.